Γεια σας. Χίλια συγγνώμη, θα μιλήσω αγγλικά. Τα ελληνικά μου μια φορά παράγγειλα μια σαλάτα με μπατζούρια. Και ευτυχώς δεν είχανε να μου δώσουνε. I heard so many amazing things today that with each speaker I was pulling out things that I wanted to refer to. But I'm staying with what one speaker said. Sharon, where are you? Sharon said the hive is on fire. And she spoke about bees and this incredible sense of community and common purpose that bees have got, and the way they all work together to protect the hive. And I think there's a massive lesson inside there. I always say the best way to predict the future is to create it. That's not easy, but it's doable. It's doable. I've seen that happen many, many times with some of the big brands that I've had the good fortune to work on. And what I'm going to do today is to draw on some of the lessons that I've learned from my career in branding and perhaps draw something out of that. Okay? First, just a couple of words about myself. I was born in South Africa. I grew up there. And I went to university in this very beautiful city called Cape Town. And I studied business, economics, finance, and my real passion was in the social sciences. I was always fascinated by what makes human beings work. That really, really fascinated me. And I guess that's how I was driven towards a career in advertising and in branding eventually. I finished university and I made up my mind at that point that I wanted to be a big deal on Madison Avenue. It was as simple as that. And my father, who really wanted me to work with him and become his successor in the business that he'd built. And I had a meeting with my dad one day and I said, Dad, it's not what I want to do. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a big deal on Madison Avenue. It's exactly as I said it to him. And he looked at me with a huge smile on his face and he said, go and show them who we are. And I left from that meeting with wings on my back, seriously. And I started to plan my journey to Madison Avenue. I kicked off by joining McCann Erickson in South Africa, which at the time McCann Erickson was the largest global advertising network in the world. So I joined them in South Africa, knowing that that would be a path towards Madison Avenue. And after a couple of years, they sent me to Hong Kong. And I spent some time in Hong Kong, learning about a very different culture, frankly, but always interested in human beings. That's really what drove me. And one day I got a call from the head office in New York, and they said to me, you're Greek, aren't you? I said, well, with a name like mine. And this guy says to me, do you speak Greek? I said, fluently, which I couldn't, of course. And they sent me to Greece as the CEO of the agency over here. From here I went to Mexico. I spent some time there as the CEO and Vice President for Latin America. And finally I made it to New York, where I was a big deal on Madison Avenue. I was Worldwide Director of Client Services for McCann Erickson, and I was responsible for the Coca-Cola advertising account worldwide. I left McCann Erickson. I joined TBWA, very famous agency, known for their creative work. And there I was very fortunate to work in the agency that was appointed by Steve Jobs to save Apple from bankruptcy, literally, in 1997. And it's an experience that I'll never forget. This is what I was taught at university, that brand is added value. It's about a name and a logo and a fancy slogan and packaging and promotion and clever advertising. In other words, it's like gift wrapping your product, making your product more attractive. Okay? What I learned over my career is very different. Brand is actually foundational value. It's about purpose, belief, values, and a powerful narrative that drive what you do and what you say and what you produce. Okay? Very, very different. Very, very different. It goes back to what Aristotle said. It's all about ethos. It's all about who you fundamentally are deep down inside. And you express that through logos. Okay? Ethos is stable, consistent. Logos might change over time. This kind of thinking, I'm going to demonstrate it through a couple of great brands that we all know. Okay? Starbucks. Starbucks produces coffee. And by the way, not the best coffee in the world, but coffee is what they do. Okay? They've got 42,000 stores around the world. They've got a culture which is incredibly strong, their ethos. Starbucks wants to be the third place, as they call it, in everybody's life. Your first place is your home, your second place is where you work, and your third place is a very casual, comforting environment where you feel good. That's exactly what Starbucks aims to do. Okay? You know, the people who work at Starbucks all wear an apron. Inside, it says, we create inspired moments in each customer's day. It doesn't say we make the world's best coffee. The next one, Nike. Nike doesn't talk about the quality of their shoes. They connect on a universal level with human beings everywhere around the planet by saying, find your greatness, which appeals to absolutely everybody. Okay? Avis Rent-A-Car, we try harder. That's about human connection, very powerful human connection. We all want people who try harder on our behalf. Okay? And the result of this is that you've got very, very powerful narrative, which makes very strong human connection. Okay? But it does something else. It creates a narrative bridge which connects you with where you are and where you want to be. And to illustrate that, I'm going to take the example of Apple. 1997, Apple was almost bankrupt. Literally. They asked Steve Jobs to come back. I remember when I met Steve Jobs, he spoke about his desire to make a dent on the universe. Huge goal. Let's make a dent on the universe, he said. He spoke about how technology should be like a bicycle for the human mind, capable of giving you huge additional power, but very easy to use and you never forget it. We made a piece of advertising, Think Different, which some of you may know, which finishes by saying, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And that's a very powerful thought. You have to be crazy to think you can change the world. That commercial went on air in November of 1997. It didn't talk about computers. It didn't even mention the word computer. It spoke about what I was talking about earlier, purpose, belief, values. It created culture. It created ethos. It connected people. Okay? And the result of that is that Apple went from bankruptcy to become the world's most valuable corporation ever. And that happened in 14 years. Today, Apple is worth $4 trillion. It's unbelievable. And the remarkable thing is that very recently, a friend of mine's daughter started working at Apple as in the marketing department, and she got as a gift, the first day she started at work, the words from the commercial we'd produced back in 1997. So it's still living as ethos. Okay? By the way, when I talk about ethos, please think Aristotle. And that reminds me of what Aristotle said. He said, we are what we consistently do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. The big lesson that I've got is we need to create an ethos of sustainability, which touches every single human being, which acts as a narrative bridge from where we are to where we want to be. It's got to be universally appealing, and it's got to make human connection. Because when me becomes we, everything becomes possible. I don't think sustainability is the job of politicians. I don't think it's the job of special agencies. At the end of the day, sustainability is the responsibility of every single one of us, 8 billion of us. Because if it doesn't become part of our culture, I'm afraid that we lose our home called Earth. Our hive is on fire, and it's time to learn from the bees. And Sharon, I thank you for that. I think that's very strong indeed. Guys, that's what I wanted to share with you today. I think there are lessons from branding that we can take. We need to create a very powerful narrative which must contain purpose, it must contain belief and values, and really communicate it in a way which creates universal human connection. Because if we can do that, we then create a bridge to a better future with purpose, belief, values, and narrative, but with universal human connection. Thank you very much indeed.